Hey everyone, welcome back to Always All-Wheel Drive. So as much as I really love all the off-roading or the touring or the camping we've been doing recently, it is critically important to make sure that you maintain your vehicle to do all that cool stuff, especially if you're wheeling it really hard like I have been recently. So what is the easiest way to start getting into DIYing your own vehicle and maintaining it? In my opinion, it is actually changing your own oil. It's cheap, it's easy to do, and it's a skill that's transferable to a wide range of vehicles. And the beauty of changing your own oil is that when you're confident doing that, you start to get a bit of a feel for your vehicle. You get to start noticing things that others may not have noticed. And if you're getting more confident, you can change your spark plugs, your coils, your transmission fluid, and things like that. So what we're going to do here, I'll take you through the part required for Ford Territory. I believe it's also applicable to similar vintage Falcons. The tools I need, the parts, how to do it, and how to make sure we did it properly. So let's get stuck into it. Right, so what tools do you need to change your oil? You need a couple of things. You need a 16mm socket for the actual drain plug. You need an 8mm socket to take off your air intake filter housing. You also need an extension to get to the hard to reach places on your air filter housing. You also need, of course, a couple of socket wrenches, at least one. I use two. And most importantly, to take out the filter, you will need one of these. I call it the claw. This is actually what you need to take out the filter. It's applicable to your B series and I believe earlier model Ford straight six engines as well. So they're the tools that we'll be using. What am I actually going to put in the vehicle? So I've opted today for 10W50. I've used it in the past. I've had some great results. I do use the vehicle in pretty harsh climates. I use it in the snow, I use it in the desert and everywhere in between. So this is what we're going to be using today. You also need an oil filter. I've opted for a genuine Motorcraft one, but you can purchase a Repco one, and that's actually what's in the vehicle right now. You'll also need a drain tub, and you'll also need a funnel as well. So that's all the parts that we need. I'd also recommend getting some gloves. I don't have any right now, so I will have to use my hands. And grab yourself a bit of cardboard as well, because it does make working under the vehicle a lot more comfortable. Now, because my vehicle is raised, I don't have to jack it up, which is one of the beauties of actually having it lifted. But if your vehicle is a lot lower, running stock suspension, or if it's lowered, then you will have to jack it up, and make sure that when you jack it up, you use jack stands as well. So enough of this, let's get into it. All right, so one of the first things I'm actually going to do is start the car. Why am I doing that? You start the car so that you can warm up the oil a little bit. It helps the oil run out, especially if the vehicle has been sitting for a few days like this has. So you don't have to make it hot, just make sure that it is a bit warmer. So what we're going to do, I'm going to start the vehicle. All right, so now that it is running, most importantly, we have to pop the bonnet. Okay, so the motor's been running for a few minutes now. Now after I popped it, what is good to do while it's running is listen out for any noises, anything that's unusual, anything strange that shouldn't be there. Also have a look at your coolant, make sure that that's not completely low, and just have a general look and smell to make sure nothing is burning or anything like that. So we're going to shut the engine off now. Okay, so step one is take off your air filter and air filter housing. How do we do that? We take off the clips on top, that moves it out. And at the bottom, there are three 8mm bolts that we have to take out using our socket set. So let's go. Okay, just be careful when you take it out. You have your air conditioning hose here. Ooh, one thing I almost forgot is a Phillips head screwdriver for your air intake. So let me go and get that. Almost I forgot that. So I've only got one screw here, I don't have two. I don't really know where the other one went. I think I may have misplaced it at some point. Now just be careful when you take this out. There you go. Now we are doing this because we need access to the oil filter, and the only way to do that is to actually do it through here. I believe there is another method of doing it through the wheel well, but I won't be doing that. So here you go, just move this away. I would recommend place your screws that you took out into here as well, so that you don't lose them. Okay, so the second major step is getting under the vehicle, letting the oil out. Now that we've warmed up the car, we can do that. Two things that I need here, 16mm socket and a drain tub. So let's do it. Now we didn't let the motor run for too long, so it shouldn't be, oh, there we go. Oh, done. Have a look at that. Now, while we're letting that drain, this is actually a really good chance to check out the rest of your underside. You can look at your lower control arms, you can look at your radius arms, you can look at your tie rods and things like that. So even though the oil is draining, and you do have to wait a little bit for it to drain, it's a great opportunity to just look at the underside of your vehicle. So yeah, we'll just wait for that to drain out and then we'll put the plug back on. Now this is where people have to be really careful. I believe it is 30 Newton meters. You don't want to over tighten this because, as I mentioned before, you can actually crack this. So what I've actually got myself a torque wrench and I've set it to 30 Newton meters. Off the top of my head I believe that's what it is, but I will add the correct one in the description if that is wrong. So just nice and gently. And then we just torque it very carefully. We don't want to crack it. There we go. It's clicked, which means that that is in. Wipe it down as well. Make sure there's no residual oil, and it's also a good test to see afterwards if there's any leaks. Okay, so the next step is to actually take out the filter and to replace it. This is where you need this little item here. So the way the filter screws on, it screws on using this little indentations here, and that you actually have to rotate it so that it grips on like this, and then you twist it on and you twist it off. Make sure you put some oil on there as well. That's really important to do. So you got to be careful with this because it can drip a lot of oil underneath. Try and move the basket under where the lower control arm is. Try and catch as much oil as you can. Well, that's just brilliant. I think I got sent the wrong filter. I was specific that it was for a Ford Territory SY, but as you can see here, the hole on the right is actually smaller than the hole on the left. So I'm going to have to visit Super Cheap Auto and get this corrected because we cannot continue without changing the oil filter. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to stop the project right here and continue on when I do get a chance to get a new filter. Okay, so we're back. There was a bit of a delay. It has become a bit more darker. My wonderful other half was kind enough to pick me up a replacement filter, but let me just quickly show you the issue here. You can see right there, this is what I got from Jefferson Ford, and this is the new Ryco Z5161 as well. The difference is actually quite profound. The hole on the right is a lot smaller than the hole on the left. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to continue with this and continue with the fitment. Ooh. It's become a lot colder as well, so now I've had to don on a jacket. There we go, see? Okay, so we've put the filter back in, it's nice and firm. The next step is to put the oil back in as well. So if the internet has led me to believe correctly, The vehicle takes 7 liters of oil. I do have 8 liters with me just in case. And the most important thing I'd say before topping anything up is get your dipstick, if your vehicle has one, just clean it all the way out and then put it back in. So therefore you know exactly when you're pouring in, you're not going to overfill it, because you really don't want to overfill an engine. So let's get stuck into it. Right, we got the oil. So what I'm going to do is, now this 7 liter, as you can see, 7 liters, it comes with a little funnel as well. So this is the funnel that goes into the engine block. This will be the funnel that comes out of the oil canister. Now I've emptied a fair bit of this already, so what's important to do is to, as you're going along, just check your dipstick. That adds still. So then we are going, now as you can see, wow, look how clear that oil is. How good is that? So at the moment it's still at add. I'm not sure if the camera can capture that. So we want to keep going for just a little bit more. As you can see, over full. So what we've seen is that the oil is just over full. That will be fine, because when we start the vehicle up, a lot of it will be absorbed back into the oil filter anyway. So that's going to be the next step. The next step is to put the cap back on. That's very important. Don't forget that. So I'm going to put the cap back on. And then we are going to start the vehicle up for roughly around a minute, let it idle, and then we're going to recheck the oil level. Make sure you check there's oil in the vehicle before you dare start it. You do not want to grenade your whole motor on this. So we're going to let this idle for around 30 seconds to a minute, then we'll recheck the oil level. Okay, so let's check the oil level now. I would have expected it to go down just a little bit. So always wipe it up. Put that down. We'll just wait a few moments. Up again. That is now down. I'm not sure if you can see that there, because this oil is so clear. Let's see. Can the camera focus? Okay, so the camera doesn't really want to focus, but that's fine. So what it is that it's actually just in the middle of okay, which means that we do have to add roughly a liter. But as you can see, it is perfectly on the line. That's exactly what you want. You just want to be perfectly on full. Okay, so because it's getting pretty dark out there, I've had to take this in here. So the stage you're at is the oil is all looking good, which is awesome. A couple of things to be mindful of: check your sump plug, make sure that there's no leaking residue under there. Another thing is your oil filter as well. Make sure that the oil filter, if you feel under it, there's no seepage or anything like that. Give it a nice firm tug, but not overly tight, because as you saw before, it looks like I may have over tightened it a bit before, so we want to avoid that. And after that, put back your air filter housing and your air filter intake. There are the 3 8mm bolts that you just have to be mindful of. Put that back together, give it another start, make sure she's all good, and happy days. All right, so that concludes how to do an oil change, in particular on a Ford Territory, but on most vehicles, more or less, it's the same. So hope you all enjoyed that, and I'll see you next time.